The program you are about to see is called the Anishinaabe View, in their own words. This is a series of shows produced by the Algoma District School Board for a website being developed called Voices from the Gathering Place. This is about the earliest history of Sault Ste. Marie between 1622 and 1870. What we discovered in developing this website was that while the significant events in this period all included First Nations and Métis people from the area, and while their stories were being represented, their voice was not. And it was important to include their voice and their stories. And even more remarkable and interesting was that the stories from the oral tradition were often ones that were not in the written record. And so we're so happy to present this series of shows filmed at Eastview Public School with Anishinaabe students from grades 4 to 8 with elders, chiefs, and knowledge keepers, and hearing the Anishinaabe view in their own words.
Chi miigwech for being here.
Oh, miigwech. Ani bojo. Lyle says, Jishnakas, Kitagan ZB, Don Jaba, Check Jack Dodam. I first of all want to say miigwech to the Eastview and the school board for inviting me here today to speak to our students with regards to some of our history from Garden River. I know you're going to be asking me questions, but I do want to talk a little bit about Chief Shingwok before we get into it. What I'm wearing this afternoon is it's a headdress that it's a replica that Chief Shingwok wore when he signed the Treaty of 1850. At some point in the future, you will understand what the treaty is. It was signed between our communities of Garden River and many along the North Shore, and it was signed with the government of Canada, or Upper Canada at the time. And the treaty, we were supposed to live side by side and share the resources of the land. Like the trees, when you cut down a tree, we should get some money from that, like the government does. But of course, that didn't happen. In this book here, you'll see, I'll just pass it around, you can have a look. That is Chief Shingwok, referred to as the pine, or little pine, or white pine. And that's why you have people on Garden River today, their last names are Pine. Chief Shingwok, he fought in the War of 1812 to 1814. He fought in several battles as a matter of fact. General Brock, who was the lead commander for the British, he fought along beside him. We do have an elder in Garden River by the name of Dan Pine Jr., who tells the story of General Brock giving Shingwok his sword before he died in the battle, and also a patch from his uniform. And that was in the family for many, many, many years. And unfortunately, at one point, the house burnt down. And the sword was lost, and many other stuff that he had that was kept for Shingwok. I'm told today that somebody may have picked up that sword because it shouldn't have burnt. It should have been maybe badly damaged or whatever, but somebody must have went back and found it and took it and sold it or did something to it. We don't know for sure. We don't know where it's at. But we do know it was here in Garden River under the keepsake of the family. Shingwok, he was also not just a warrior, he was a medicine man. He knew a lot about our culture. He belonged to the Medean Lodge, which still exists today. He was a visionary. When we talk about being a visionary, when the non-natives came to our lands, and after living with them for a number of years, he knew that we had to change our way of life because the animals were going to be gone, because that's what we used to feed on, etc., etc. With the new settlers coming in, we had to change our ways. There was no way we could live off the land like we did in the past. So Shingwok figured we needed a teaching wigwam or a teaching lodge. And he had, maybe I'll save that for later, because I think that's going to be one of the questions on how the wampum belt came to be. So what I'll do is I'll leave it at that for now, and let's get on with the questions, and I think I can hopefully answer most of your questions.
What is the meaning of the wampum belt for the Anishinaabe people?
Wampum belt, for Anishinaabe people, there were many different types of wampum belts that were utilized by our Anishinaabe people. Wampum belt was given as gifts. If you did something for a community or whatever, you were given a wampum belt. There were meanings to it. For example, not with Garden River, but when the Mohawks dealt with the settlers in the early days, they had a wampum belt called a two-row wampum. And in that two-row wampum, what that meant was there was two nations side by side, working together and living in harmony and sharing the land and the resources in a happy way. That's what that wampum belt was about. But of course that didn't transpire. So it's just an example on what a wampum belt is used for. It was also used to record history. I'm not an expert in the wampum belts, and including this one that we have in front of us. You see lines in there and those kind of things, but I don't know what they mean. And I've yet to find out that anybody that does know. But there are many belts out there. A lot of them are in the museums now. If you go to Ottawa, if you go to the Museum of Man or Civilization, I think it's called now, you will see many wampum belts that are utilized there for people to see. I'm not going to talk about this one yet, so I hope I answered your question a little bit as to what the meaning is and what they do.
On what occasion would the wampum belt be used?
Well, again, I guess I answered the question partly in terms of using to negotiate settlements or working together. They're used to record history, what happened in the past. We did not read and write in the old days. It was all verbal. But the use of the wampum belts, they did designs on them, and that told the history of our people in the past, what's happened in the past. So that's basically what they were used for.
What is the story of the wampum belt that you brought here today?
Yes, the wampum belt that you see in front of us here, I got a call back in probably 1999 from a lawyer by the name of Paul Williams, who lives in Toronto. And he had found out that this particular wampum belt was going to be auctioned off in New York, Sotheby's in New York. And we made attempts to get back this wampum belt from a gentleman by the name of Sir John Colborne, for his ancestors. Shingwok, in 1832, he walked in canoe to Toronto with a delegation of chiefs and warriors. And when they went to Toronto, they went there to ask Sir John Colborne, who was the lieutenant governor at the time, if they could build schools for us back home. He also wanted to find out about religion and what religion should Garden River citizens utilize in the future. Because at the time they called them black coats, or priests in the old days that came to Garden River. They were Catholic, they were Protestant, there were different groups that came here. And Shingwok wanted to figure out which one was the best for him. So when they went to Toronto, they did meet with Sir John Colborne, and they were very successful. They agreed to build a school in Garden River. And at that time, Shingwok gave him this wampum belt as a gift. Again, I'm not sure what the meaning is of the lines on the wampum belt, but that's what was given to him at the time. So back in 2000, I asked council if we could bid on the wampum belt so we can bring it back home. We tried to get it off of Sir John Colborne's ancestors, but unfortunately they wouldn't cooperate, so we had to bid on it. And I actually bid on it from Garden River on telephone. In the end, it took about a minute and ended up costing us 38,000 American, which translated to about 57,000 Canadian dollars. So $57,000, we were able to bring it home, and it now sits proudly in our council chambers in Garden River. After his visit that he had, a school was built in Garden River in 1834, and it promptly burnt down 5 days later. So the government again agreed to build a new school, which was built where Algoma University sits now. Are you familiar where that is? Algoma University? Or Shingwok University. Unfortunately, it turned into a residential school over the years, which Shingwok didn't want, but I think that's going to be something I will be talking about a little bit later. So hopefully that explains the wampum belt, where it was, and how we got it back into our Garden River, our community of Garden River, and it belongs to all of us from Garden.
Why is it important to Garden River First Nations to have Shingwok's wampum belt?
Well, I think it's very important for the fact that because of his vision, Shingwok's vision on education and the importance of it, and reading the letter that was attached to the belt when we got it back, he went to, like, you walk to Toronto and canoe to Toronto to go and do something for your people. I mean, that's a long ways to go to try and raise funds. Back then there was no telephone or anything of that nature where you could pick up and call and ask. But again, because of his vision, he was very concerned that we needed an education in our community so that we could live side by side with the new settlers that came to our country. And plus, it's part of our history. That belt there, it's got to be over 180 years old. If he gave it to Sir John Colborne in 1832, and how long before that did he have it? I don't know. It is made of seashells. That's basically what I know about it. I don't know too much, but hopefully I answered your question.
What grandfather teaching speaks to you now?
Pardon?
What grandfather teaching speaks to you now?
What grandfather teachings? Well, I'm not quite an elder yet. I won't be long before I am. But when I was your age, I didn't really think about our history too much, what they did back in the 1800s. I didn't know too much about my direct descendant Shingwok. It wasn't until I was older, maybe in the 40s, that I started realizing I got to learn more about our culture and our values and the history of my own great-great-great-grandfather, because I didn't know anything. And slowly but surely, talking to elders and other people, I learned a little bit as to who he was and what the teachings that I'm learning, I'm trying to pass them off to other people, such as yourselves. I mean, I don't know a lot. I know a little bit, but it's our history. It's all of our history that we're talking about. And what it does for me today, it makes me feel good as to what Shingwok did for all of us. I know when I was growing up, my ambition was to go to college and hopefully finish it. And from there, whatever happened. Didn't matter what kind of a job. I wanted an education because that's why Shingwok, that was his vision, and that's why he wanted us all to learn. So it didn't take much for me to go to school. Didn't want to go a lot of times, but I went. I graduated, but that's basically it. I mean, history, it's for all of us to learn and to be proud of.
Could you tell us about Shingwok's role in the War of 1812? Like what battles he took part in and what medals he was rewarded?
Chief Shingwok fought in many battles. He was at Fort Chillimack, I think it's called, over down in the States by Mackinac Bridge. He fought in Detroit. He fought in Moraviantown, which is outside of London. But he also fought in the Big War of 1812 in Niagara Falls. He led a group of 700 warriors from our area to go to Niagara Falls to fight along the British in order to help save Upper Canada or Canada, because the Americans were coming and they wanted to take over Canada. And Shingwok was looking for a deal. He wanted self-determination. He wanted our people to prosper amongst the new settlers that were coming. And he really believed it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Coming home after the fight, there was only three of the warriors that came back, including him. The rest were all killed in action at that time. So even back in 1812, we had the veterans who passed away, some that came home. Again, he tried to make deals with government to ensure that our people were benefiting after the war. That was his main goal. And he wasn't too successful because governments changed their tune after the war was over. They didn't need us anymore. But I can tell you that if it wasn't for the First Nation warriors, there would be no Canada today. We'd all be Americans. Our people would be called Americans. But because of Shingwok and Tecumseh and other great leaders that we had, that's why there's a Canada today. And again, Shingwok, he didn't fight to save Canada. He fought to ensure that we had a deal with the government in order to move forward in the future. But again, that didn't happen as he had envisioned. Hopefully that answers you a little bit.
What were some of the challenges you faced when you were a chief?
It's a very good question. Challenges, I guess the big one that I had was dealing with the federal and provincial governments and fighting for our treaty to ensure that they honor it. Even today, that treaty is alive and well. And you know the $4 a year we get from the treaty? We get it once a year. They come to Garden River with a Mountie, and Indian Affairs comes and gives us $4 a year. That's from the 1850 treaty. That's why we're still getting that today. So that treaty is alive and well. And over the years, we've had to take legal action. We have a court case right now with regards to the treaty that governments did not honor. And we're talking billions of dollars that at some point we'll hope to win this case. And I think we're going to win. It's just a matter of time. Government's got a lot of lawyers and they're delaying things, but I think at some point we're going to win. So one of the challenges is to get the government to honor the treaty. Again, we struggle in our communities with regards to with regards to assisting our citizens with housing, those kinds of education. We get money for education, but because we promote it so well, we don't have enough to help our students continue on into college and university. We do have people going and getting assistance, but we have other ones that are not going because there's not enough money to go around. I do know Garden River goes into deficits at points because of education, and I was a part of that because I believe that if you want to go to university, well, you're going to go. We're not going to stop you. We will help you. And that's what we've done over the years. We have run into deficits because government put a cap on the funding, 2% cap, which costs increase, but the money coming in does not. And what I'm saying, the funding that comes in, that's money that's owed to us. It's not a handout. I don't look at that as a handout. They owe us that money because of the treaties which they have not honored. So we're hoping in the future that once they start honoring the treaties and start sharing the resources that are ours, and it's our resources, nobody else, we're going to be much better off. But don't get me wrong, education is the key. And that's why Garden River has always, because of Shingwok, stood up for that. Many, many other challenges, I could sit here all day and talk about them, but I think those two would be the biggest right now, is the treaties, trying to get them to honor it, and to increase funding in all areas, not only in education, but in helping our elders and those kind of things.
Why was education important to Shingwok?
Well, again, it's he knew the world was changing. Everything was changing in our area. We weren't able to. Well, we could still hunt and fish, but it wouldn't be as prosperous as it was in the past because of all the people that were coming. There were a lot of settlers coming into our area, not just a few. And he knew that we had to get an education, industrial, learn how to, whatever they did at the time, I guess. But education was extremely important. He knew that. And if he didn't have that vision of a teaching wigwam, I don't know where we'd be today. I mean, maybe we would still be in residential schools, I don't know. But the fact is, it's unfortunate that happened. All we can do now is look forward, and hopefully all you do is carry on. Once you're finished grade 8, go on to high school, finish that, and take a college or university in something that you enjoy or like, because you got to have it today. Grade 12 is not good enough to get a job. So you just got to carry on and do the best you can. When I was growing up, I went home with homework like this with books because I had to read and really work hard. I wasn't an A student. I worked hard for my B's and C's. And a lot of us have that issue, but we always manage to get through it. And I know you guys can do it too, and gals.
What were your biggest achievements as Chief of Garden River?
Biggest achievements? Well, I think when you talk about economic development and what we have in Garden River today, when the 4-lane highway went through, we did benefit from the 4-lane highway. From that, we built the education unit in Garden River with the gymnasium, with the other activities that are in there, the gym, not the gym, but what do you call it, where you work out. We also built a golf course, Silver Creek, which is getting better and better. As the years go on, it's improving and it's maturing. And someday in the future, we're hoping to have some young people like yourselves who want to go out and try it. If you like the game, maybe you can get a scholarship at a university in the future. Those things are all available to you. Golfing is an activity that you get out, you have a good time. You learn about the etiquette and how to do things. It's a great game. And we're hoping that we get more of our citizens. We do have about 80 to 100 citizens that come out on a regular basis. And we have other ones that come out now and then. But we're hoping to get more young people. There is a 1 week or a weekend of youth coming out and the pro there shows us how to golf. Has any of you been to that? A couple of years? And we're hoping in the future we get more people out and stick to it, because it is a great game and it's good exercise. Other things, there's a number of policies that we put in place over the years to run our community. That's one question I never thought about. What did I accomplish? And it's not me accomplishing it, it's the chief and council and the community. A lot of our citizens worked on those projects and did a great job for us. So we built a bingo hall, which creates revenue for the community to do some other programming that helps us out, creates jobs, a lot of jobs. Our Dan Pine Healing Lodge, very proud of that. Our Joe Bay Park is coming around. It's getting better, and again, it creates jobs for our citizens. So job creation is a big thing. As you know, if you don't have a job, you don't work, you don't got money coming in, life is not good. So economic development, I guess, would be our biggest goal when I was chief, and we did accomplish many things, but again, going back to governments, trying to get them to fund some of our other projects with the Conservatives in at the time, didn't happen. Conservatives were cutting a lot of our programs. And thank God that they're out. We now have the Liberals, and we'll see what they're going to do in the next couple of years.
How did Shingwok try to bring schools to his people?
Well, again, Shingwok led a delegation to Toronto. At the time, it was called York. Again, he visited Sir John Coburn and asked him at the time, who represented the government, to build a school for him in Garden River and to send teachers. The teachers at the time were the priests who ran the residential schools. And he petitioned many people that came to our area to help get the message across to governments that we needed the school in order for us to survive and carry on in the future. But it was his vision. He knew we needed a teaching wigwam.
Have you ever experienced racism, and how did you deal with it?
I can tell you that racism is alive and well today. People may not come out and directly be racist to you, but there's other ways that they do it. Whenever something happens to a native, in, say in Sault Ste. Marie, and you get on the Sault Today, and people make comments. I don't know if you ever read some of the comments that they make. I mean, they're very ignorant and racist comments. Personally, how do I deal with it? I ignore it. I can pretty well tell after a while that who's being honest with me and who isn't, and who's giving me the cold shoulder. I don't know if you've ever been to a store and trying to buy something, and maybe that person didn't have a very good day, but they give you a hard time, or they ignore you, or, you know, those innuendos, they're there, and it's going to take a while before they go away. And that's why the teachings about First Nations people needs to get out into the curriculum of the schools, including Eastview here. What we did for this country, fighting in the wars to save Canada, those kind of good things that we did. When we talk about the treaty, like people say they give us handouts. Those Indians only want handouts and they're drunks and this and that. Well, that's not true. We never drank before the non-natives came here. We didn't have alcohol. They used that on us at the time of treaties. They separated us. There were 17 chiefs here that were going to sign the treaty. And the only one that didn't want to sign was Shingwok, because he didn't agree with it. He wanted more out of that treaty. But they'd take people to the side and they'd give them a couple of drinks, a whiskey or whatever, and next thing you know, they got their signature or X on that treaty. So that's going to be a while before we get on track, because again, being equals with non-natives. We need to get our good stories out in the schools and the curriculum, not only at this level, but at the high school and college levels. I think it's starting to happen now, but it's going to be a while before we get that thinking that we're not drunks, we're not looking for handouts. And again, if we can explain the treaty and why it was signed. That goes a long way, because it was to share the land and the resources. It was our land. We must never forget that. It was ours. We never lost it in a battle. We never got defeated. We never gave it to them. As one of my buddies, Chris Bello, said, "Where's the receipt? Show me the receipt where we gave this our land away. Show us the receipt." And there isn't any, because we didn't. And all we're asking is to share those resources, and I could tell you, if they did that to us today, we'd be well off. All of our communities would be well off. Next.
Okay. What would Shingwok think about the residential schools that started after he passed away?
I think Shingwok would be very sad. He didn't envision anything of that nature. He talked about like an industrial school where you'll learn how the different trades, whether it was farming or looking after horses, or making horseshoes for them, those kind of things. That's what he talked about. What ended up happening was these young students like yourselves, or even younger, were made to go out in the fields and work. They had to work in the morning, come back, and then go to school in the afternoon, because they have to do the chores. They're the ones that did it. It was the kids. And it should never have happened that way. They were supposed to be learning, not going out and cleaning out the barns for the cows and horses and this and that, and doing all the cooking and etc. So that was never the case. Maybe if you want to learn those things, but not do them and make them do them. Plus you talk about all the wrongdoings that happened to them, the sexual abuse. I mean, I could just see him turning over in his grave, Chief Shingwok. But we're overcoming. People from the residential school days are still with them. They have a lot of them still have a hard time today because of what they went through. But it's changing. It takes time. I'm hoping in the next generation that history is going to be real history. And those families that went through it get better at the day-to-day activities that they have to live with on an ongoing basis. So Shingwok, I'm sure if he's looking down on this, he's probably very upset what transpired over those many, many years.
Is there anything else you would like to share with us that we haven't asked about?
Somebody had mentioned earlier about what's going on today, what's important. I mentioned education. One thing I didn't mention was the environment, Mother Earth. We've had presidents, former presidents from the United States, talking about the environment, like climate change, for years and years. David Suzuki, these are all people, or professionals, who know what's going on with regards to climate change. And because of money, the dollar, governments they turn a blind eye. It's like the conservatives, they don't care about the climate. They only care about today. They don't look to the future. They don't look 7 generations down the road. They don't look at their grandchildren and how they're going to live in the future. The world today, it's climate change. It's happening. It's real. It's not a joke. It is real. The Arctic is warming up. I just seen something on polar bears having to swim like 300 miles now to go and get food. Swimming 300 miles where before there used to be ice. Now there's no more ice. The icebergs are breaking up. Fossil fuels are destroying the atmosphere. This is all happening under our watch. And people talk about it. Yeah, we're going to do something, but we can't do it today. We're going to do something, but as far as I can tell, not much is happening. We have to change our ways, just like Shingwok did back in the old days. We've got to change our ways on how we do business. We've got to find new ways of supplying fuel for everything that we do, for our cars and factories and those kinds. We've got to find different ways so it doesn't destroy the Mother Earth. And the other thing is that it's the third world conditions that a lot of our communities are going through today, such as Anishinaabe. Are you familiar with what's going on up north in some of those communities that there's no roads to get into, you have to fly in? A lot of those communities, they're living in houses with 15 to 20 people. It might be only like a 2 or 3 bedroom house, but they're all living in this one little house. Can you imagine the conditions in that home? I've been up to some of them. Their schools are marked with graffiti. The band offices are similar. They're boarded up. The windows are boarded because somebody's broken them. And the reason for that is there's no hope. These children up there have no hope for the future. There's no jobs. They just can't go well, I'm going to go to Sault Ste. Marie today, or I'm going to go to Thunder Bay, and I'm going to go to the movies or those kind of things. That just doesn't happen because they're stuck there. They're in one spot, and there's no way out. And again, governments are turning a blind eye. They're prepared to send millions of dollars over to Europe to help the folks over there, which is good. I'm glad they're doing that. But they have to help our own citizens here in Canada. A lot of those communities up north don't have clean water. They have to boil their water to drink it. Some of the water that they live around has uranium in it, different kinds of poisons that they use for some of the mines up there, and it's going right in, dumping it right into the rivers, and they can't drink that water. So really, these people need help now. At Anishinaabe, they just sent in a number of people for mental health. I don't think that's the way to go. They should be sending our own people that have knowledge about mental health up there, not a non-native that's going to go up to a community that's never been before and they're going to try and help these people. How can they when they don't know who they are? It should be our citizens going up that have the knowledge and expertise to help them. So right off the bat, they're doing something without asking, I guess. Who should I ask first to go and help these people? If there's a fire up north, they send them all down to, say, Timmins, and they put them up in hotels. And some communities are still in those hotels. They're still there because there's no place for them to go back because their house burnt down or whatever it is. They never built new ones. So that's one of my big beefs. It's, if you're not going to give Garden River any money, that's fine. Please help those people up north. They need it the most. I'm going to get angry. I don't want to get angry. Who's next?
What were the teachings that you learned from your elders?
Pardon?
What were your teachings that you learned from the elders?
Well, before I started listening to them, I've learned one from an elder who, he said there's 4 things that you need to know. He said one is respect, 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 and respect. If you respect your fellow students, your parents, or everyone, you're going to get that same respect back. That's what I learned. So over the years, I've tried to do that. I've tried to be helpful, help people, and be respectful. Otherwise, you will not be respected. So that goes a long way. The elders have also told me 100 times that we cannot lose our language. We are losing our language. And what are we going to do about it? My position with regards to language is that we need to begin at the daycare center in Garden River. Let's teach our little babies the language at that level. I've also proposed in the past that we add on to our recreation center, grade 1 to grade 4, be full immersion, where our students go there from grade 1 to grade 4, and it's full immersion. You don't speak English. So when they come out of grade 4, they could come here. And they already know what's going on, and they're going to get 100% every year because they know the language, right? So we were told that if you don't have a language, you're not a nation. And the majority of us here are from the Ojibwe Nation. I recall my dad spoke English, Ojibwe, and French very fluently. When I came home from school and walked into the house, I could hear them talking Ojibwe. Just they're going to beat old heck. And as soon as I walked in the door, they switched to English. And I often wondered why they did that. And I was told that I had to learn the English language in order to go to school and carry on. But the way I see it, if my dad knew 3, how come I couldn't learn 3? But at the time, they were told also by the churches, the nuns who ran our schools, that we could not speak the language. We couldn't speak it at school, so they were trying to assimilate us into the white man world, if you want to put it that way. Assimilation. They tried it for 150 years, 180 years, and they haven't done it yet. We're still here. So I'll leave it at that.
Oh. Do you have any thoughts about the Robinson-Huron Treaty of 1850?
Yes, I do, and I did mention it earlier that that particular treaty, the Robinson-Huron, we're all treaty people here. We all belong to that treaty, 1850. If you're non-native, you're a treaty person because your ancestors signed it on your behalf. So again, the Treaty of 1850, it was to share the land and the resources of this country. And it didn't happen. And that's why today we're still fighting. We have to go to court and sue the governments so they will honor the treaty. I mentioned that people think we get handouts, we get money from government, it's a handout, and that's all we're here for, looking for. Not true. That is not true, folks. We have a treaty. We're asking our partners to honor it. And hopefully at some day they will. And I'll guarantee you, if they honor that treaty the way they should have, all our communities would benefit. We would all benefit from that. So as you're growing up, make sure you try and learn more about the treaty, about the Robinson-Huron. We have one on the wall in the band office. There's a treaty. Take a look at that. Have a look at it. See what it says. That gives you knowledge. Knowledge is power. The more you know, that's power. Next.
What were some of the duties as chief?
What were some of the duties as chief? Well, I had to make sure our council stayed in line. No, just kidding. I guess as a chief, it's similar to being a mayor of a city, I guess, where you have people that live in the community, and your job is to ensure that they have all the resources to live a good life, whether that's electrical, plumbing, housing, education, all those things that we need today. My job as chief is to ensure that we try and provide that to our citizens. We're very fortunate in Garden that we're fairly well off. We're not rich folks. We're not that rich. We're not rich, but we make a living. We have a pretty good living. Again, I'll mention the communities up north. they're not having a good living. 12 people last week, or 11, all at once tried to commit suicide, and that is Papaskat. Young folks like yourselves wanting to kill themselves. It's terrible. And then again, this recent, in the last couple of days, they tried again, and some of them tried again. And this is what all these people up there that are supposed to be experts, that they sent up there to help. So this shows the despair and the hopelessness that these young folks are going through. And that's why I would, if anybody's going to come forward, it should go to them to help them out. Yes, Garden River can use more money to build a subdivision because we need more housing. A lot of people are not back home yet because there's no home. All our subdivisions are filled up. I've been asked for 20 years now for a subdivision I was after. But governments say, oh, you're still in line. You're not there yet. Those are the kind of things we have to put up with. And they owe it to us. It's not that we're not begging. It's ours. It belongs to us. So there's a number of things that happen as a chief. Attend a lot of functions. I visit a lot of elders. A lot of our elders live alone in Garden River, and they don't get too many visitors. They're very happy when somebody shows up to say hello and have a cup of coffee or a tea. If you got grandparents and folks, if you know that they're not being visited too much, go and see them. They're be very appreciative of that. Visiting elders that are alone, and if you know them, go and say hi. They would love that.
How did the residential schools differ from Shingwok's version of education?
The difference was totally opposite of what he anticipated would happen. He envisioned a school similar to this, I guess, where people come here, they're fairly happy, they get their education, they have teachers. You don't have to go and work in the fields. You don't have to go and pull potatoes or carrots or onions, whatever they grew at the time. Shingwok wanted them to learn those things, but not be treated like you get up at 6 in the morning, which they did, 5 or 6 in the morning to go and work in those fields, and then come back to go to school in the afternoon. That wasn't his vision. It was similar to what we're doing here today, where you learn. So we could all get along in the future. That's basically what it was. Residential schools, again, I don't know, I don't like talking about them. I know I almost cry every time, like one elder told me. She used to sit at there was a tree at Algoma University, or Shingwok. There's a tree there where she used to go and sit every day. She was only 5 years old, and she was waiting for her dad to come and get her. Of course, he never showed up. This here is a war club. This club was in my home when I was a young man. My grandfather, William E. Pine, he was chief for 35 years in Garden River, and that was during the 20s to the 50s. And this was his, and where he got it, I don't know. I was only 5 when my grandpa passed away, and he used to tell me stories, but I wasn't listening. He used to make me guns out of a piece of wood, and he'd make that, and I'd watch that instead of listening to him. Geez, I wish I would have listened. But I just wanted to show you that it's a war club that they actually used in battles in the old days, and I'm just glad I got it because there's not too many around. Okay, who's next?
What is your message to our youth?
Get an education. Get an education. If you ask me next week or next year, I'm going to tell you the same thing. I'm very, very fortunate. I have 4 children who have all come to this system here at Eastview. Went off to White Pines, graduated. One went to the University of Waterloo, graduated. 2 of my daughters went to college, Fanshawe, and I forget the other one, but at least they graduated. I do have a young daughter right now that's going to Ottawa University. I think she's in her final year. She's been going like forever, but she's getting her degree also, which I'm very proud of. And it's all because of Shingwok, because we told him what he wanted us to do. And it wasn't just, it was for Garden River and the surrounding people, not just the family, it was for everybody to get that knowledge that we have to have. Stay out of trouble. That's another one. And we talk about those 4 words of respect. You respect somebody, you're going to go a long way. People are going to respect you. And that's basically it. That's the message. It's keep your education, live a good life, stay away from drugs and alcohol. That's what hurt us in the old days too. A lot of our citizens drank because they didn't want to think about the residential schools after they came out of there. A lot of them really suffered, they got abused. So they took to drinking. And today it's, a lot of people still have their drinks and that, but it's a lot better today than it was in the old days, much better. We're getting better at it, I guess, if I want to put it that way. Okay.
How did Garden River get its name?
Get the gun GB. I don't know. I never had that question. All I know is that we were, in the old days, we did have a lot of gardens in Garden River. I know we used to have a little garden, potato garden, and then we had a vegetable garden. And I had to go out and pull weeds, but that was to ensure that we got fed. So that's probably why, is because a lot of us, instead of hunting and fishing because it was dying out, we reverted to making gardens. And I remember we dug a hole into the earth, and that's where we stored our potatoes and vegetables in the wintertime, so they wouldn't spoil on us. I remember doing that. And then you had to go and dig them out in the wintertime. When there'd be 3 feet of snow on it, you had to go and get it out. So that's what I think I heard that in the past. That's the reason why.
Tell us about your elders growing up.
My elders? Well, a lot of them are still here. There is a lot of knowledge out there. Like I mentioned, Dan Pine Jr., he knew just about everybody in Garden River and what they did, who they were, where they came from. Just speaking to them and start asking questions, we can learn a lot. Other ones that passed on, they've always talked about the good old days, I guess, on how we lived here. A lot of our citizens lived in Echo River. You know where Echo River is? And at that time there was no cars, and they used to live there, and they used to walk up their garden on a Friday night because there used to be dances at the old hall we used to have. And that's a good, 5 or 6 mile walk, and then after that you'd walk home, at midnight in the dark. Those kinds of stories I have heard. One story that's still alive and well today is Trap Rock. Are you familiar with Trap Rock, where that is? I remember different elders telling me about little men that live up there. My mom said she saw them, and because she used to walk from Echo River up the garden all the time. And when she passed, she seen these little guys. She actually saw them. So to me, that's true. It's a true story. and other elders who didn't know my mom told us of the same story. I've only been up to Trap Rock maybe twice in my lifetime, and each time I went there, I always felt like somebody was watching me. Or you ever feel that? Somebody's watching you and you get tingly and you're looking around and who's there? And there's nobody there. So those stories, there's more to it, but we have little green people living in Trap Rock. I got 2 minutes left, folks.
Do you have any Aboriginal role models that have inspired other people?
Well, the role models that I see are young, like today, like Jordan Nolan, who went on, become a good hockey player, and win 2 Stanley Cups. My kids are role models for going to school and finishing. My grandpa was my role model. He was chief for 35 years. My mom used to tell me stories about him. And my grandpa used to walk. Every day he walked, and I used to run behind him because so fast he walked. I was just maybe a little guy. And we used to go down to his garden to go and pull weeds, and I had to go with him, and I'd be running behind him. And like I said before, he used to tell me stories, but I wouldn't listen because I was too young, I guess. So those are just a couple that I like. But there's many, many out there. Shingwok's my hero. He was a warrior, medicine man.
How was a spirit name chosen in the process of the ceremony?
I have very little knowledge of it, but there are ceremonies that take place when people are given Anishinaabe names. My mother gave me my name, which I kept, which was Shabanodin, which means, you ever see when the wind blows and the dust it's like a little tornado and it dances around? Well, that's the way I was. My mom couldn't keep track of me. I'd be here one time, I'd be over there, then I'd be over there. And that's what she called me, Shabanodin. Right? I can't keep track of you, she said. So I'm very proud of that. But there are ceremonies that take place. There are some elders who have the expertise, the knowledge, and a sense of respect. I guess you respect them, and they do ceremonies for people that ask for a name, and they will do it for you. And they'll check you out. They'll know who you are. They'll ask you questions. They'll come back. Then they'll come back with a proper name for you in the ceremony.
Caden?
I didn't even look at my notes.
Thank you for being here and sharing your knowledge with us.
I say miigwech to yous. I want to thank yous all for inviting me here today. I hope I helped yous a little bit. If I'm invited again, I promise I'll do a better job. But I'm very happy to be here. Anytime in the future that you would like me to come, by all means, I'm available. With a little bit of knowledge I got, I can try and pass it on to you. But again, folks, stay in school, stay away from the drugs, help your parents, and respect your elders. Miigwech.
Miigwech.
Miigwech.